I'm the lucky mom of 3. I have a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 3-month-old who's lovingly being held by his aunt. So if he starts crying, it's because I'm here, but I'll be short. Our 3-year-old has Angelman syndrome, and I think his story attests to the power of both the Angelman Syndrome Foundation as well as Mass General. And basically, when we first got diagnosed, Henry was 14 months, and the first thing we did was go to the website and read all about Angelman syndrome on the website of the Angelman Syndrome Foundation, the primer, and then we got in contact with an amazing family who's been so helpful to us in New York City. And one of the first things that they told us about was this diet, this epilepsy diet that their son was doing that literally changed his life. And so, as an Angelman mom, you want to believe that, but it's really hard because you just don't know what the future holds. And they kept telling us about this diet. Finally, but we felt that we were getting good care with our neurologist in New York, who managed to reduce Henry's seizures from more than 60 a day, head drop seizures, to about 15 to 20 a day with medication. But then it came to a point where the doctor said, well, either we introduce another medicine at this point, which has a low effective success rate, or you just learn to live with this. Fortunately, at around the same time, we were scheduled to come to see Dr. Fiebert and Heidi Pfeiffer. And yeah, so that was the turning point right there. When we got here, it was a completely different story, and we didn't have to just accept living with 15 to 20 head drop seizures a day, but rather they told us that Henry could be seizure-free potentially in the future, and that he would be a different kid when we came for our follow-up 4 to 6 months after. Again, we wanted to believe it, but it was really hard. But the fact of the matter is that Henry has been on the diet for about 1.5 years, and in that time, he has gone from having 15 to 20 seizures a day to not having them every day. Probably the last time he had one, I can't even remember, maybe a couple of months ago. And then he also went from 10th percentile in weight to 50th percentile in weight, so he's completely average. And whereas before he was hypotonic and he looked kind of like a skinny baby, now he looks like a linebacker. He's got a really thick neck, and he can withstand wrestling with his 5-year-old brother. So the sky really is the limit right now, and they were right. They knew, they're experts, and they knew what they were talking about. But when I was talking to my husband about today, what we both agreed on was that it wasn't, the results are amazing, and they really did change Henry's life and our life. And more importantly, Henry's now able to learn. So all of his therapists said, wow, now we can do something 10 times and he'll remember it instead of doing it 100 times and he won't remember it. But the results, the amazing results aside, Dr. Fiebert and Heidi Pfeiffer have just been stellar in every way with Henry and with our family. As you may know, they're super compassionate and caring and loving and really expert in their field. And I'm really thankful for everything you've done for Henry. And I'm really excited about this clinic because I think it will bring a lot of impact to other families. Thank you.